Hey, today we're going to be talking about Across the Spider-Verse. And I know that you looked at the thumbnail and thought, oh my god, I'm not going to watch this video. He's just a hater. No, trust me. The thumbnail is true. I hated the Spider-Force. For a little bit at least, until, some of the main members got their senses knocked into them by Miles and stuff. But man, I'm just gonna. I watched the movie yesterday, and I've been thinking about it ever since. And there might be some things that I missed during today's discussion, but I will try to like remember things that I saw, things that I felt, and what impact this movie left on me. So I'm not gonna do a whole professional review if you're here for that. But yeah, I'm gonna try and talk about some things that affected me the most while watching this movie and how much of an impact it had on me, right? So this is how it goes. I'm gonna talk about in a non-spoilery way at the beginning of the video, and after a little while, I'm gonna say that I'm gonna be talking spoilers now, so beware. So if you guys haven't watched this movie, please, please, please do. I don't just think that it's an animated movie. That's why it's made for kids and it won't have that much of an impact on adults. It's not like that. I swear it's not like that. It's incredible what this movie can do and the things that it can make you feel, right? All right, so let's begin from the beginning of this movie. When the movie began, I thought one thing that this is not just going to be Miles' story. This is going to revolve at least one other character. We're going to see one other character from one other main character in this movie, and we found that with Gwen as we got her backstory and how she joined the Spider Force at the beginning, and it took a lot of I think it went on for like the first 15-20 minutes, and wow, it was incredible. I think the first half of this movie had so much heart into it, so much drama, and I loved that they depicted how teenagers felt and reacted in real life. Like, you don't see the shit in like Netflix TV shows. In Netflix, if something like this happens, they're gonna probably like say some cool dialogue up here, all brooding and dark. It's not like that over here. It's amazing. Um, one other thing that I loved that one other thing that I loved is that even the sort of negative characters like Miguel O'Hara, Spider-Man 2099, who is, oh wow, what a character, man. He seems like someone who's normal, who's not just being bad all the time, who has a little bit of his humor in him, a little bit of personality, and it's not just bad 24/7. So I mean, he is not a bad character. He's just a guy who's been through a lot and has basically become Batman at this point. But yeah, you know what? I'm not going to talk about him right now. You watch the movie. You guys will see what I'm talking about, right? So then the movie begins after we get the whole Gwen section, and then we shift to Miles's perspective, and we get introduced to this new clumsy villain in the spot, right? You're gonna think, oh, he's just a villain of the week, and even the people in the movie think that he's just a villain of the week. But oh boy, he has a he has a very connected backstory that reminded me of so many of the MCU villains. Like the thing with MCU Spider-Man villains was that at some point in time they had been near Peter Parker, and then the things that Peter did affected them in some way, shape, or form, and it's similar over here as well. Things Miles did in the first movie affected the guy and basically turned him into the Spot that he is today. Um, the Spot seemed really clumsy in the beginning, but trust me, when the movie hits the second half and you really see what he can do and what he's become, you will know fear. Like, there's one scene in the movie that has been animated so beautifully, and the music comes in so impactfully that I just chills all over my spine. It's incredible. It's downright incredible. There was like one frame of animation, like it's there in one of the trailers as well, I think, and it's been released on Twitter, on social media. But yeah, this movie. Oh yeah, this movie handles multiversal travel way better than Doctor Strange did. That movie was who even allowed that movie, man? Yeah, this movie does justice to multiversal travel. It fits into the story. You can see that Miles' parents are worried about him. So, yeah, see, like I said, the first half of the movie is about family and drama, um, in a way that it does not get boring. It does not feel slow paced at all. It shows humanity, and you really start to feel for the characters. And we are introduced to certain tiny plot threads that aren't made extremely obvious, but you know that they're gonna probably make an impact in the second half of the movie. Oh, fun little detail. This movie starts with a cuff as well. For those of you who did not notice, the first Spider-Verse movie starts the sound effect. Like I think Phil Lord or Chris Miller, one of them like cuffed during one of the recording sessions, and they just kept that in. And this movie is the same. And after the cuff sound effects, when the freaking OST comes in, oh my god, it's unbelievable. It is unfreaking believable. And you get to Gwen's story and you realize that something is wrong. And for a while you think like, oh, is she talking? Is she like in the future right now? Did the movie happen for her? And then we're seeing her perspective, and then we're gonna get flashbacks. No, none of that happened. Right? Things played out in real time, and oh man, I could keep talking about this movie all day, but it just will. This video will go on and on and on, right? So Miles is behaving a bit weirdly because obviously he can't tell his family that he's Spider-Man. He gets grounded again and again, and then Gwen shows up all of a sudden, and she's like, "Yo, you want to meet this new elite Spider Society that saves time and space?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, sure." But for some reason, the boss, the CEO, Miguel O'Hara, doesn't want him there. Now I'm not gonna tell you why. I think it's a little bit obvious, like you could probably make out, but I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it, so I don't think that anyone would notice what's up. People joked around that Miguel was just being racist, racist and stuff, but no, it's not like that. Um, yeah, like wow. Gwen's backstory was extremely sad. Then you get to Miles' perspective, and when Miles and Gwen are together, there's a lovely little moment. Um, but you soon realize that Gwen does not seem like the person she was in the first movie, and neither are any of the Spider people, quite okay. I'd say like there's something going on. There's some ulterior motive going on, that probably Miguel has devised against Miles, and like told everyone to like be cautious and stuff. So you really know that something is wrong, and the moment when realizes what's wrong, and when Miguel straight up tells him what's wrong, it's such a hard hitting moment. It's incredible, right? Incredible, spectacular, amazing. This movie does it all. It really does it all. Now let's talk about something that some people will go into this movie expecting, and that is cameos, right? So I'll say this: cameos will make you happy if you know at least a little, if you are at least a little well versed in the Spider-Man lore and all the different Spider people that are there. Thankfully, the people that watched the movie with me, my theater, the theater audience, they seemed to know who these characters were, because when certain characters showed up, they were like, "Oh!" and they were like screaming and yelling, and I was like, "Oh, should I yell? Should I not yell? What if I yell and nobody else does that, and so I just look like a complete fool?" Because people have no idea who they're seeing, and I'm just being excited for no reason. That's what they think. So turns out, no, people actually knew about this shit. So I like that. There were a lot of cameos from the Spider people in general. Um, there were a bunch of references to games, animation, obscure comics, and all that. But they were just like restricted to background characters, which they should be. This is not their movie, honestly. Um, as guys have seen in the trailers, there is Spectacular Spider-Man, but he just says one sentence with like 5 words. But those are very impactful words, though. So I'll just stop right there. Um, then there's one interesting and very unexpected cameo from the MCU. It's not Tom Holland. I'll say that it's not Tom Holland, but there's one cameo from the MCU. There's two major cameos from the other Spider movie series, like Tobey Maguire series and Andrew Garfield series, and it's incredible how they played those cameos and those scenes from those movies into this story to explain Miles' what's going on, basically. Um, like I said, if you haven't watched the movie, you guys have no idea what I'm talking about. But they did it so well. They did such a good job. I don't think while I was watching, I went to a really early screening, so I was kind of like sleepy and stuff. So in the first half, I was kind of like, "Yo, it's a bit slow," but turns out no, it was just taking its time, setting up the characters and the relationships. Which definitely, I think, if I watch the movie again and again, then it will get better for me. I'll be in a good headspace. Also, my theater was so trash. They did not, for some reason, I felt that the volume was way too low. Like with the Metro Boomin soundtrack and everything, it should be booming in my ears. Like I want to feel it, but unfortunately, I did not experience that. Sadly, um, but yeah, oh, soundtrack. Where do I even begin? This movie outdoes the first movie in terms of soundtrack. Metro Boomin, oh my god, I recently came across his works, his music. Um, um, uh, like I knew that he made songs, right? I knew that he made songs for The Weeknd and everything. He produced a bunch of songs that for those artists, but he's been making albums for himself lately, and I think he sings his own songs as well. And I recently discovered Heroes and Villains, and that album was amazing. Uh, and yeah, like even with this soundtrack, the beats he made, um, either on his own or in collaboration with other people, they made every single cell in my body feel things that I did not know I could feel. There's one particular song called "Am I Dreaming?" and as of recording this video, I think the official OST is out now, so you guys can check those songs out for yourselves. But "Am I Dreaming?" The music in that song, just wow! It made my you know what? I'm not even gonna say it. Listen to the song yourself. You gotta feel that same feeling. Yeah, Miguel is an interesting character. He's cool. He's sad. He's dark, but sometimes he comes off as goofy. And I'd point that out to like, you know what? I'd say a lot. I said a lot of good things about this movie, and now I'm gonna say, wait, I did not mention the most important thing: the final act of this movie, right? So there's this long sequence towards the end of the movie that feels like the final act of the movie that feels like, yo, the movie's gonna end right after this. It's a big chase sequence. You see it every time in the trailers and stuff. Big chase sequence with all the spider people, and it feels like the final act because that's the general superhero movie structure, right? The final act begins with a big battle, ends with a big battle, right? But turns out, no. That was actually just the ending of the second act, or maybe the beginning of the third act of the movie, which threw me off guard so much. I was expecting the movie to end, but I like kept wanting more. I loved seeing this animation, and I loved, I loved the story arcs that these guys are going through, and I wanted more of that, right? So the big battle ended, and then you realize what was happening, right? So we enter the final act of the movie, and everything seems okay, but it isn't. And when the revelation hits in, you let out an audible "oh" sound effect in the theater. I couldn't stop myself from doing that. I literally did that. So many other people did that in the movie theater. I was flabbergasted with the twist. The final act of the movie has, I think, three twists non-stop, right? One twist I think was with Spider Punk Hobie. Like, wow, what a character! Amazing guy. Um, yeah, I did not even talk about the Spider People. I forget. Oh my god, I'm just going on a freaking tangent every time. There's a twist with Hobie and Gwen. There's the second twist with, you know what? I'm not even gonna say it, but trust me, the final act has twist after twist after twist, and every single one increases in magnitude from the previous one, and it's incredible. When the final twist hits, you're like, no, the movie cannot end like this, and the movie ends on the twist, which is insane to me. Like, wow. Beyond the Spider-Verse, man, bring it on. Let's talk about the characters of this movie. Miles, obviously, such an amazing character. It's crazy to think that he's 15 and he has to go through all the things that he goes through in this movie, which is extremely insane for someone who's 15. Like, I would not wish this on any 15-year-old kid. Um, Gwen is also an amazing character. We get a lot of backstory about her and where she comes from, what she feels. Um, we get a lot of backstory about. We see Peter from the first movie, Peter B. Parker and Mayday, but they're kind of they take a step back with his character, and he feels more of like a comedic relief rather than an actual character in this movie, which is okay because I don't see a place for any other major role for him. Other characters, including Spider Punk, who is incredible, whose dialogue is probably one of the few best ones in this movie. Um, we get Pavitra Prabhakar, who is Spider-Man India. He actually plays a major role in this movie, and his whole section is a major plot point in this movie. And wow, his dialogues, his art style, and everything is just perfect. It's perfect. Like he's a very charming, lovable guy. Then his story leads into a major plot point, which I'm going to talk later on. Um, then we come to Miguel, who is an interesting character who comes off as dark, broody, and everyone teases him for that. But I felt like this whole brooding vibe was kind of undercut by a lot of dialogues and jokes on him. I wish that didn't happen. But yeah, we get a little bit of his backstory as well, and why he is the way that he is, and why he does not want Miles to join his team. Because these guys are operating from the shadows, and Miles has no idea, right? Everyone has an ulterior motive regarding Miles in this universe, and even when Miles is there, like people are like, yeah, talking in a weird manner with him. They're keeping hush hush. They don't want to tell him the truth about something that he is doing currently. So it's crazy. It is very insane to me. Like the movie really picks up the pace in the second half. Man, it's wow. Then we come across this one spider weird avatar girl, like who's basically using a VR headset to like enter the spider realm. She's a helpful character as well, who shows up, who helps us out in the second part. We get a lot of connections to the first movie. The Collider incident is something that it plays a major role in, shaping up what happens in this movie. And also, there's so many elements in the first movie which is why this movie exists, and which is why Miguel is unhappy with Miles, right? That's it. That's all I can say about this movie. Soundtrack incredible, visuals spectacular, movie amazing, characters ultimate. Like this movie does it all. This movie really does it all. I cannot say any more praise about this. It's so incredible. It is so incredible. It has to win an Oscar this time as well. Like I think the animation went above and beyond what it was in the first movie, and I cannot imagine how much time they put into each single frame in this movie. It's crazy to me. Um, wow, the story you would feel like it's just a normal linear story, but it's not. It's really not. It's there is so much going on, and at the end when the twist hits, you're just it hits so hard. Now, let's talk a little bit let's delve a little bit into spoilers, right? So if you haven't watched this movie, click off the video right now. But before you do, leave a like on the video if you enjoyed the non-spoilery part of the review, and you enjoy this movie as a whole. And let me know what you felt about this movie. I'm genuinely curious what your first reactions to this movie were. Okay, so on to the spoiler part. First, as soon as the movie begins and the credits roll in, the soundtrack kicks in, and there's a thing about music is that if you can fall in love with the track after listening to just 2 seconds of it, you know that this album's gonna be fire. So the movie begins with Gwen's backstory, which is an interesting choice. And Gwen is, narrating some things about her and Miles and everything, and you start to feel like yo, did the events of the movie happen before the movie began and are we gonna get flashbacks? But that doesn't happen. That doesn't happen. But Gwen still feels guilty for something that she did to Miles. And then we get a whole backstory about her and Peter and who Peter was in her universe. And we see that he tried out the lizard serum because he wanted to be different, which is so sad, which is so downright sad for his character. It's just so, man, Peter dies fighting Gwen, stuck under the rubble, and Captain Stacy, blames Spider Woman for it. He's hunting her down for ages. They get a whole, years pass on. We get into the relationship between Gwen and her father. Then after a while, Miguel and everyone shows up to fight Vulture, who's from an alternate timeline, because Miles apparently, when he closed up the collider, he kind of opened up little rifts in every dimension, which I don't think is his fault entirely. I think that's the Spot doing that because he can open portals into another universes. We fight Vulture, then we get indoctrinated into the Spider Society. Gwen leaves her father, which is a really sad moment because it really felt like Gwen was being miserable. Like there was no place for her in her own world, which is insane to me. Then we jump back to Miles and we see his side of the story, how he's been, how he's interacting with his father as Spider-Man, and how he's doing in school, his family, everything is just falling off because he's leading a dual life. He's leading a dual life, and there's moments when he just can't find the balance, right? So then Gwen shows up in his world, and she tells Miles that, yo, I'm here right now. So Miles is like, why didn't you show up earlier? Because it had been like 9 months since she has been indoctrinated, and Gwen cannot tell him that she cannot show up as per code because Miles is like messing shit up, and the Spider Crew does not want to, uh, you know, they just want to stay away from him. Um, so Gwen is actually not just there to meet Miles; she's there to keep an eye on Spot, which is wow. It Parts of this movie made me hate the Spider People so much, and then when Miles came to know that he's just supposed to let people in his life die, and he could do nothing about it. Gwen knew that her father was gonna die, and she did nothing about it. She just stayed there. Incredibly like awful shit. Like it made me hate them so much. Like they're trying to stop this kid from saving his own father. Are you kidding me? Then Miles just blasts his way because no one in the Spider Verse has the Venom blast powers, which catches them off guard, and then he runs up. Oh, the cameos of Donald Glover's Prowler and everything were funny as hell. Like wow, we actually see him in a Prowler suit from the MCU, which is incredible. We get an Spot travels into Venom's universe to fight, not to fight, to like meet Mrs. Chen, which is awesome. Really funny gag. And people who are hardcore fans will know who she is, and thankfully, people in my theater knew who she was. But wow, the cameos were incredible. Some of them got their own character introductions and stuff. Um, and then second half is when the story and action really picks up. Like we get into Pavitra's world, and then the big thing happens there. Um, he saves them. Pavitra was supposed to lose Captain Singh, who is the equivalent of Gwen's father in that universe, but that doesn't happen because Miles saves him, right? So that's like one thing. This is connected to like Loki and other stuff. This is like a big web of life and destiny, like Miguel says it. Oh my god, I'm gonna drink some water. Which is crazy considering Spider-Man was made because Stanley wanted to portray that anyone can be a superhero, any random person can have that force for good. But turns out it's not random; it's destined, whatever, which is kind of irritating to me. And they're just supposed to let these events of sadness happen in their lives. So we get Miguel's backstory, how he actually hopped into another universe to have a family. But then that was taken from him because apparently his decision was so strong that it literally broke the universe apart, and he doesn't want that to happen again. That's why he's keeping Miles away, because he is the original anomaly. He was never supposed to be bitten by the spider, because during the Collider incident, that spider from Alchemax was from Universe 42 that hopped into his universe, and then bit Miles, which is incredible. But I also hate the fact that Miguel blames him, because that wasn't entirely his fault, right? Miles would not know. It was, you could say it was Kingpin's fault for like starting up the collider and stuff. Um, but yeah, that spider being from a different Earth, I did not think that could serve another plot point, but it came back to bite me in the butt in the final act, because when Miles goes home, the machine that sends him home recognizes the spider DNA and sends him to that particular universe. And when he reaches home, you can already tell that something is off. Something is no. You can actually not tell. You think like everything is going okay. You think everything is fine, and that is juxtaposed with scenes of the Spider Crew like searching for him. Gwen obviously now supports him. Peter also supports him, uh, and you when the realization hits that something is wrong, that he has landed into another universe, it is crazy to me. We see the Prowler, who is Uncle Aaron. Miles thinks it's Uncle Aaron, but Aaron seemed like a good guy at first, but then you realize no, something is off. Then we meet the Prowler, who is Miles from that world, because that world did not have a Spider-Man. Everything went to chaos. They're basically in Gotham right now, and the Spider Crew has to save him from them or something. But I have a feeling that the Miles version of Prowler is actually a good vigilante in that world. I don't know, because his father was obviously a policeman and he died. Um, I don't know what they're gonna do with the third movie. Like the main plot's pretty set up. Like they're gonna save Miles, fight the Spot. Everything's gonna be hunky dory. They're probably gonna get like a cameo from Tom Holland, Andrew Garfield, and Tobey Maguire. Um, and I guess then they're gonna move Miles into live action or something. I don't know. That's rumored apparently. So I'm excited for what's to come. So let me know what your predictions and thoughts were about the future Spider-Man movies and what you felt about this movie. This is one long video, so sorry for like fumbling about and like saying things out of my head. Um, so yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this one. I hope you guys had the same feelings as me. Let me know if I missed talking about anything, because there's so much in this movie that I probably have just forgotten, and did not talk about. So yeah, let me know if I missed talking about anything, or you want me to want to hear my opinion on something about this movie, um, that I did not talk about in this video. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Drink loads of water. I know I will, because my throat is parched from this much talking. Uh, Drink loads of water, be kind to others and to yourself. Happy Men's Health Month. Like, take care of yourself, guys. Also, happy Pride Month for those who are celebrating, and I hope you guys have an amazing time and, usher in an era of positivity. And I hope the companies that change their logos are not hypocritical about all this shit. Because that's just funny. That's just me. I don't want to go on a tangent, but hey, that's all for the video. I could talk about this movie for ages and ages, but that's all going to be for this video. So thank you so much for watching. I will see you guys in the next video. Bye bye. Oh, my throat. How long? Oh my god, it's a half an hour video. Shit. Alright. Bye bye. It's been too long. Bye, guys.